Recorded Books and RB Digital present Humanocracy, Creating Organizations as Amazing as the People Inside Them, by Gary Hamel and Michaela Giannini. Narrated by Graham Halstead. Preface. How would you feel at work if you had the right to design your own job? Your team was free to set its own goals and define its own methods. You were encouraged to grow your skills and take on new challenges. Your workmates felt more like family than colleagues. You never felt encumbered by pointless rules and red tape. You felt trusted in every situation to use your best judgment. You were accountable to your colleagues rather than a boss. You didn't have to waste time sucking up or playing political games. You had the chance to help shape the strategy and direction of your organization. Your influence and compensation depended on your abilities and not your rank. You were never given reason to feel inferior to the higher-ups. How amazing would it be if all these things were true where you work? Amazing enough, we reckon, that work would hardly feel like work. Unfortunately, this is not the reality for most employees. The typical medium or large-scale organization infantilizes employees, enforces dull conformity, and discourages entrepreneurship. It wedges people into narrow roles, stymies personal growth, and treats human beings as mere resources. In consequence, our organizations are often less resilient, creative, and energetic than the people inside them. The culprit is bureaucracy, with its authoritarian power structures, suffocating rules, and toxic politicking. Some might believe bureaucracy is on the wane, that it's headed for the same fate as landline telephones, gas-powered cars, and single-use plastics. The word bureaucracy, like horsepower, seems to be the relic of a bygone age, and in many ways it is. But sadly, bureaucracy is still very much with us. As we'll see in Chapter 3, bureaucracy has been growing, not shrinking. A fact that is correlated, we believe, with the worrying slowdown in global productivity growth, a phenomenon that bodes ill for living standards and economic opportunity. Bureaucratic organizations are inertial, incremental, and dispiriting. In a bureaucracy, the power to initiate change is vested in a few senior leaders. When those at the top fall prey to denial, arrogance, and nostalgia, as they often do, the organization falters. That's why deep change in a bureaucracy is usually belated and convulsive. Bureaucracies are also innovation-phobic. They are congenitally risk-averse and offer few incentives to those inclined to challenge the status quo. In a bureaucracy, being a maverick is a high-risk occupation. Worst of all, bureaucracies are soul-crushing. Deprived of any real influence, employees disconnect emotionally from work. Initiative, creativity, and daring, requisites for success in the creative economy, often get left at home. Thankfully, bureaucracy isn't the only way to organize human activity at scale. Around the world, a small but growing band of post-bureaucratic pioneers are proving it's possible to capture the benefits of bureaucracy, control, consistency, and coordination, while avoiding the penalties, inflexibility, mediocrity, and apathy. When compared to their conventionally managed peers, the vanguard, many of which you'll meet in this book, are more proactive, inventive, and profitable. These companies were built, or in some cases rebuilt, with one goal in mind: to maximize human contribution. This aspiration is the animating spirit of humanocracy and stands in stark contrast to the bureaucratic obsession with control. Both goals are important, but in most organizations, the effort spent on ensuring conformance is a vast multiple of the energy devoted to enlarging the capacity for human impact. This gross imbalance is dangerous for organizations, a drag on the economy, and ethically troubling. Bureaucracy is particularly problematic for large companies. As an organization grows, layers get added, staff groups swell, rules proliferate, and compliance costs mount. Once a company hits a certain threshold of complexity, around 200 to 300 employees in our experience, bureaucracy starts growing faster than the organization itself. That's why big companies have more bureaucracy per capita than small ones, and why they're burdened with managerial diseconomies of scale. The link between girth and bureausclerosis would be less worrying if large organizations weren't so dominant. Despite all the talk of the gig economy, a greater percentage of the U.S. labor force works for large companies than ever before. In 1987, 28.8% of U.S. employees worked in companies with more than 5,000 employees. 30 years later, the percentage was 33.8%. Today, the number of employees working in companies with more than 10,000 employees exceeds the number who work in businesses with 50 or fewer employees. Defenders of the status quo will tell you that bureaucracy is the inevitable correlate of complexity, but our evidence suggests otherwise. The vanguard companies prove that it's possible to build organizations that are big and fast, disciplined and empowering, efficient and entrepreneurial, and bold and prudent. If you doubt this, here's an amuse-bouche, a short example of what's possible when an organization commits itself to humanity above bureaucracy. That's the motto of Buurtzorg, a leading provider of home health services in the Netherlands. The company's workforce of 11,000 nurses and 4,000 domestic helpers is organized into more than 1,200 self-managing teams. Each nursing team comprises 12 caregivers who have responsibility for a particular geographic area, typically encompassing around 10,000 Dutch residents. These compact operating units are responsible for finding clients, renting office space, recruiting new team members, managing budgets, scheduling staff, meeting ambitious targets, and constantly improving the quality and efficiency of the care they provide. In most organizations, these duties would fall to area or regional managers, but at Buurtzorg, they're divvied up among local team members.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.